you wrote something that is just for boys. And I was just like leafing through your book. Let's talk about French fries and consent. And immediately you have me hooked. Those are my two favorite things. What do French fries and consent have in common?
Hey Liz, are you hungry? You'd say,
definitely,
yeah.
Always.
Let's go get some French fries. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds great.
That sounds
I
great.
would love that.
I go and order fries.
Yeah.
Right? What if you don't want fries anymore? I don't just like start shoving them in your mouth and make you eat the fries, right?
Or yell at me, or tell me, why did you bring me
bad.
here?
I just say, okay, all right, that might be a bummer, but I can eat the fries by myself. It's fine.
Yes.
Or maybe we're eating the fries and you get really sleepy. You had a few drinks, you were tired, we're eating fries, and then you fell asleep.
Yeah.
I don't like put the fries in your mouth.
No,
I don't like making
that's
you
a
eat the
weird
fries.
thing to do.
That's super weird.
That's super weird.
So fries are like consent because if we're enjoying fries together, it's wonderful. And if you don't want the fries, I should be okay with that.
Yes.
Even if I wanted you to eat the fries.
Of course.
It's not my place to make you eat the fries. Our good friends at A Call to Men, Tony Porter and Ted Bunch, did a national survey. They went around the country and they found that 78% of all high school seniors don't know what consent is. That's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. That's why this book is so important to me. And if you know a young man in your life or an old man, it's never too late to learn about fries and consent. And that was just one chapter.
That
literally was the chapter you just picked up.
That is just one page.
It's just one page. It's the book that I wish I would have had growing up because middle school and high school were torturous for me. I just want every boy in the world to know that who they are as they are is enough. And then that will help create a safer world for you.
Yeah. Okay. Safety for everybody.
French fries for everybody.
Coming up on Man Enough.
Our current definition of masculinity, men are encouraged to lie or to cheat or whatever, right? But if we rewarded honesty, testosterone actually would be associated with those positive qualities. It's only associated with negative qualities because we have a negative definition of masculinity.
Yeah, but when you just say, what is it to be a man? You think of...
You do not think of good man.
Right, it's just his man.
It's this shitty guy.
Being man enough, what does that mean?
It's really manly to mess up, admit you're wrong, and then grow.
I couldn't accept that I was evil. So maybe I'm broken, but those broken things could be corrected.
Intimacy between a father and a son is me just wanting to put my head in your lap.
I love you, son.
You haven't called me benevolent sexist, but my experience is women are better.
Even if it's a positive, it's still not equality.
I don't blame men for that. I just blame the system.
This
is
Man Enough.
Hey, Liz.
Hey.
Welcome, everybody, to the Man Enough podcast. You will notice today that we don't have Justin with us, Liz.
We don't.
Justin is taking a little break.
He's taking a break.
He's got a lot going on.
He's shaving. It's taking him a long time.
He actually is clean cut right now. So in his stead, not that you and I cannot do it alone, of course, but we thought we'd bring someone else to co-host with us.
Yes.
It's Andy Grammer,
which
I'm not really excited about.
What do you mean? You're so excited.
I'm excited on one level because he's so dear to my heart, and I'm also nervous because he's so dear to my heart.
Yeah.
But, for those who don't know Andy Grammer, you're a singer and songwriter, super successful, have songs, hits after hits.
I'm pretty much like Justin with a less square jaw.
Yeah.
Just like...
Yeah, you're white.
Yep.
You're not as good looking.
You're
good looking, but you're not Justin.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah. And you've got a lot to say and share in the world. You do a lot that coincides with what we believe in. I think what's really interesting is that Liz, the two of you, which is really interesting, you were on an episode before.
Yeah.
Like last year.
Early days.
Early
days. When we were figuring it out, and you and Liz... Not you and Liz, really. Liz and I kind of got into it a little bit. But we talked about the infamous laundry conversation.
I mean, we all kind of got into it.
Yeah, we did.
It was a moment, right? It was a moment of okay, are we just going to stay? I mean, for me anyways, am I just going to be fake and just go along with this? Or am I going to be real and say what I feel and say the truth? And
you are incapable. which is your strength.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
this is
you.
like what is so beautiful about you. And we actually had really beautiful Instagram text messages back and forth.
We did.
After it. Yeah.
And I felt like, I mean, you made space for it. And even at a certain point, Andy was more receptive that episode.
He was way more receptive.
Right.
I was the one that was not.
And so it was helpful. It helped, I think, all of us kind of go forward in a different way. And it was a really meaningful episode.
so cool.
You really created space in a way that was, again, so much of this podcast is like saying the thing and having the conversation, but behavior and actions were like aligned in that moment. And that meant a lot to me.
There's a lot of work we got to do.
A lot of work. So tell us,
if we're going to talk about men stuff, there's just like a lot of work and listening and holding space that we all got to figure out how to do. You know?
Well, to that point, so we've got a whole week with you, right? We're going to do a bunch of episodes, but we're going to have a couple of words, just the three of us.
Cool.
So when we knew Justin wasn't going to be here and we asked you to come on, you immediately were like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So maybe share with us a little bit about why you care about this topic, right? We are trying to redefine masculinity, what it means to us. How do we elevate women? How do we be better men? How do we treat our girls and boys, our young ones, to be a better generation than we have been? Why do you care about this so much? What can you offer?
Man, I don't know that I have answers. I just have like other questions. Like I have two godsons, they're twin boys, and I was having a really wonderful conversation with their father at my house, and we're going like, man, when you try to define femininity, it's not hard. To me, at least. There's like a lot of really solid, easy qualities. They're like, that's awesome, that's beautiful, that's what we're going for. And we're looking at these my two little godsons, and we're like, okay, but masculinity, it's like so confusing. What do we want them to be? Like, I feel like at this point in history, a lot of things are under attack, rightfully so, some not. When you just try to like, what am I shooting for? As like a 5-year-old boy, when you're looking at your boy, what do I want him to grow up to be? It's just harder. I'm interested in that. What do you guys think about that too? It's just harder. What are good masculine qualities?
Name some.
That's great. This is a great exercise.
What are they? They're so diluted and confusing at this point. Well, like you go like protection,
bravery.
But then like, is that uniquely, we're going to take that away from women?
Well, let's just be clear. Masculinity, see, unfortunately, what we've done is we have attributed masculinity to men and femininity to women.
Totally.
These are just qualities and attributes that maybe some men, we water it more, the masculinity in us and feminine qualities in women. But I would say bravery is a masculine quality, that women have masculine qualities and feminine qualities, right?
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, and in many ways, women have been told to, like a lot of sort of popular feminist mainstream thought is for women to be more like men. If you think about sort of the Sheryl Sandberg, the sort of more corporate feminist movement, right, of like the 2010s, the 2013, it's like started in 2013.
Yeah.
And what I find really interesting is that that is still based on a distorted definition of masculinity. It was like, take up all the space and, dominate and, you can have it all. And it's sort of like, whoa, like also if white women have it all, what does it mean for the rest of women, right? And how do you have it all? And who are you sort of honestly oppressing at that point in order to have it all? And so I think that we are working on having a less distorted definition of femininity. And I think that's what that movement was trying to do. I think there were a lot of people who had good intentions, right? Like women should be more assertive and be more confident. And obviously those are great qualities to have. But still, it was premised on our distorted idea of what men should be and how men act. And so not only should we be rethinking femininity, but also like, what I think what you just said is so crucial. Like we don't know what masculinity means.
I'm not stupid and my other friend
parts.
isn't stupid, and we spent a long time and we didn't come up with anything great. Right? Because I think part of what you're saying, just like what is unique, and maybe there doesn't need to be, what is uniquely male that is wonderful?
Or uniquely masculine, right?
Uniquely masculine, sure.
Right. Because
I think that's a thing to separate,
Yes.
because we oftentimes put male and masculinity together.
100%.
And I don't think
No.
inherently at its core, they should be.
Totally.
You're listening to the Man Enough Podcast. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. It's Jamey here from the Man Enough Podcast. Lately there's been a lot of pressure to build a perfect morning routine. And personally, I don't have one. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is kiss my wife or make some coffee or prepare for golf. What's the first thing that you do when you wake up? Is it checking your credit score? Nah, I didn't think so. That's why we have Chime. Chime Financial is dedicated to helping their members build credit over time. With their secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card, you can start to build credit with your own money, no annual fees or credit checks to apply. So start your credit journey with Chime. Sign up only takes 2 minutes and it doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/manenough. That's chime.com/manenough. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank N.A., pursuant to a license from Visa USA Chime checking account, and a $200 qualifying direct deposit is required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card. Regular on-time payment history can have a positive impact on your credit score. Impact to score may vary, and some users' scores may not improve. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply, except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. All right, welcome back to the Man Enough podcast.
So there's a big movement on TikTok, like the divine feminine, and a lot of women using that kind of. You look at me like you're confused. No, I know it's like, but the divine femininity and divine masculinity is old, like East. It's from an Eastern philosophy that we all have those parts within us, right? That it's not just women have divine femininity and men have divine masculinity, but that we're all made up of those parts, and so. Again, I think we've gotten closer to what divine femininity looks like. We revere women in our society who, support other people, who support and raise their children, who make the world a better place, who create community. But yeah, what would be divine masculinity?
I was raised a Baha'i, so someone that I look to a lot is this incredible spiritual teacher, Abdul Baha. Mm-hmm. And so when I go there, it just doesn't usually align with what I'm being told. So like when I think of Abdul Baha, it's like service. I don't know if that's masculine or feminine or what, but then when I think of that doesn't super align with the backdrop of what I know masculinity to be.
Right, or what you're told.
So I think it's just really fuzzy. And it's really good to get into the weeds and talk about it, especially for men to hear like, the hell am I supposed to be?
Yeah. And Michael Kimmel has this great exercise, and maybe we can even do it. He goes into rooms full of men and he says, what's a real man? And then men sort of shout a bunch of things, right? Like dominate, like get laid, win at all costs. And then he says, okay, and he writes it all down. And he says, okay, now what's a good man? And then suddenly it's very different things that men are, coming up with. It means standing up for the little guy, right? It means protecting and providing for my family or for the people that I love, right? It's a totally different thing. And so I think that's how we get to that.
Which even is more that if you just say man without good in front of it, we've all been trained about something that man is not good.
Yeah.
Can you define what kind of shitty man you're talking about that I'm supposed to try to be like?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not the main the umbrella of all men, but just like good ones.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. My brain can hang with that. Yeah.
Well, so what is a good man to you?
What is a good man? Starts to feel very. Just the dichotomy in myself as I'm answering it feels like I'm in the woods figuring out what it is for myself, which is crazy, right?
Like I need to figure it out. I can't.
No, I'm coming up with it on my own. There's not a known situation, which is isolating going on inside me at the moment.
Sure.
But I would say what comes up for me is the word sacrifice for the greater good is a really good man. I would say that providing, not in like a demeaning anybody way or putting anybody down or like saying that you're the more important, but like a sacrificial providing feels like a good man.
Okay.
What do you got?
All that. I have trouble with this because I do not believe that men and women, any gender, is the same. We're not meant to be the same. We have the same capacity to be wonderful and to provide for humanity, but we are meant to do it a little bit differently. And that can be celebrated also. So while we talk about this subject, oftentimes they get conflated. And for me, it gets challenging when someone says, what's a good man? And ultimately, it's a good human. But there has to be a distinction. What is it to be a good man? If you look at the animal world, there is differences in the male and the female animals, right? What they provide. There is that inherent difference without choice, without the idea to actually understand and reason on a human level. There's differences. So obviously there's going to be differences in men and women. But I think where the problem becomes is when you then feel like my differences over Liz are better than yours, or more powerful, or more to be celebrated.
But our understanding of the animal kingdom is very much from our biases as human beings. One example is like the entire thing about wolves, or like the wolf pack, right? We've talked about this, right? Like the idea of the lone wolf doesn't really exist. And like in the book, there's the reason we have this podcast, Man Enough, Justin's book, he talks about this research on wolves that justifies this lone wolf kind of concept that we have in our society. But that research was actually done on a wolf in captivity. So it's not actually representative of the animal kingdom or wolf packs and how they actually operate in the wild. And what the research finds is that, it's usually actually a female wolf and a male wolf that are the head of the pack. And, the strongest, alpha male, or if you want to call it that, doesn't just take care of his own offspring, but the offspring of the entire community, the entire pack. And so if you think about it, good men and men who are alpha are not just men who, take care of their kids, but take care of everybody.
I think my only point is, like, for instance, testosterone. We know that testosterone is more in males than it is in females. And you know what testosterone does to your spirit or to your mind and to your body. So if you inherently have more of that, you're going to behave differently than someone who doesn't have it.
But can I tell you, so I don't know if I've brought this up in this podcast, but in my book I talk about this study, because I agree with you. Testosterone, hormones, I was just freezing my eggs. Let me know, I can tell you, shooting up hormones every day, I was affected by them. But, we think testosterone makes men, again, more aggressive, or that's what, makes men more violent and compete with each other. And testosterone doesn't make men more violent. It makes you more competitive. And in certain studies, they've been able to really, if you don't give men any sort of direction, testosterone might make them lie more, right? Because they're trying to compete. But in a specific study where men were rewarded actually for being honest, and they would be better like in that hierarchy of the game that was presented to them, if they were more honest, if they were given more testosterone, they were more likely to be honest. In our current definition of masculinity, men are encouraged to lie or to cheat or whatever, right, to achieve that kind of social power. But if we rewarded honesty, if we rewarded different kinds of qualities, testosterone actually would be associated with those positive qualities. It's only associated with negative qualities because we have a negative definition of masculinity.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, really powerful for me is what you said about the man and good man. If you say, what does it mean to be a man? The average guy, I don't know, where my brain goes is like, cool, movie star, the one who's like crushing it. And then good man is nowhere near in my head who that guy is. So the disconnect of those two things is like, oh God, we got a lot of work to do to figure out how to be.
Where when you just say, what is it to be a man? You think of...
You do not think of good man.
Right, it's just his man.
It's this shitty guy that you think of.
Now, we're saying, how do we get to a point where men now represent to the alien world when they hear the word man?
And then how hard is that growing up as a young boy, even if you have a good dad? Then you're like, my dad is unbelievable. He's a children's singer. He's really sweet. He's a sensitive, incredible human. And he's not like the Marlboro Man. Okay. And so then I'm growing up like, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to be like this guy? Or like the thing that is being taught to me and I'm pulled towards all the time? And when you're trying to act like this other version that we're being told, you inherently can feel the conflict of it. And it never quite feels settled. But what's so messed up, that sucks. But the bigger thing that sucks is when you are acting like the good version, there's an internal conflict that you will be found out or caught or put on blast or not be respected or not fit in.
You're not man enough.
You're not man enough.
So can I ask you a question, being that you are a, we just saw you at the Greek.
We did.
The two of us.
It was incredible.
Where you've got like thousands of people screaming and singing all the lyrics and just seeing you in your element. And you are considered, which I even hate saying this, one of the good guys, right? Not just a man, but you're like considered a good man, which as we're talking about this, like, how do we get rid of that distinction where you can just be a man and that itself means you're good?
I mean, imagine the self-hatred.
Jeez.
Underneath it all,
Yeah.
when you say man.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's hurting
You're like-
you, yes.
But getting to it, so this is something that you have committed a lot of your art, your life. I know you deeply personally. You are one of my closest brothers. You're the one that has when I have tears, the first person I call is you.
Yeah.
Or when they're like right there, need to come out, and you're also the first person that before they're coming out, you're like, dude, let's go get those tears out.
Yeah.
And you cry with me, which is nuts. He's one of the guys that you share something with him. He's crying with you, not before you. He waits.
Right.
Do not make it about him.
Nah, yeah.
And he's right with you.
Wow.
But your whole, all of your music has positive meaning to it. It honors women, your wife, your children, Lee, your mom's best friend who has been there for you when your mom passed, and others, just how you represent women and yourself and masculinity and just goodness. What is that like in the pop culture world, being in this business industry and also having eyes on you, compared to oftentimes what is seen as the opposite of that, right? Where it's all about me, and how do I be more masculine? How do I get women? You're seen as a good guy. What is that like?
I think it's the central difficult thing of my life. Is to be okay with that has been just so hard. And the truth is, like, I don't think I'm doing the music that I make. Seinfeld, I remember hearing him say, like, I don't do dirty jokes because they don't work for me. Like, it doesn't work. This is what I am. I'm following my art. Like, this is my thing, and this is what works. But it has been a long process of trying to figure out how to be okay in my skin. Where I feel the most comfortable and where my art is the best is over here. And then I'm also perceptive enough and a little bit cynical that it won't be accepted because of whatever else this version of a man is that I'm not quite fitting into. And that tension just takes and I'm sure it's not uniquely masculine. I'm sure that this is our lived experience and that there's many things that women are expected to be and told to be. This is a human thing. For me, it was really interesting when things started to happen and the music started to go well. The people that were coming to my shows threw me because my image of what a rock star is it's supposed to be 18 to 25-year-old girls that are like hot in the front row, right? And there's room for everybody. And there's plenty of that, but it was always from the jump 7 to 70 of all different things coming. And I remember just being like, am I not cool? Am I just not cool? Like my version of what I thought was this is not being reflected back to me. What a much sweeter, vibrant, beautiful thing it is. But I think we're always just dealing with the perceptions of what's been told to us and then the true reality of where we're at and what we're dealing with. And my fan base is like the dearest people to my heart. They are, when you sing about the soul and sweetness, then that's what comes back to you. And they're my favorite. Oh my God, they're my favorite. But I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't have to go through my own, do I need to be edgier? Do I need to curse? Do I, what do I got to do to get this thing that I don't want?
Right.
You know what I mean?
How do I not be my most authentic self? Because what you do is you.
Yeah.
Your art is you in the world, right? I know you behind the curtain, and that's exactly what you are.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that what you end up going through, what we do is, how do I curse more? Do I do this? Do I throw in a topic how do I get cool? And that means by you not being who you are.
You are immediately not cool when you do that.
But also, how do I work to get this thing that I don't want?
Yeah.
That's a sentence. And that, I think, applies to so many things for so many people. Isn't that
what I want?
Where unhappiness, when we get stuck.
When we get stuck, I just want to be loved and accepted. And I don't know, but I'm perceiving that if I am just myself, it will not be. Therefore, what can I do here to water myself down so that this all works? And it just takes a lot of courage and and I'm still doing it. We're all doing it all the time. I start my show with a poem that is very much about this. Should I just do it? We can cut it out if we don't like it.
Do it.
Okay. So I walk out on stage and I say, somewhere along the line, I learned that I was not enough. So behind this smile is a guy who tried but could never really trust that he would be believed or well received just for being who he was. So now when I speak, I feel the need to drop a couple fucks. So I don't lose you, so you won't leave, so you won't think that I'm too sweet. Deep-seated insecurities of how I'm seen, how I'm perceived, I'm exhausted, I just want to be. I caught my break in music when I just turned 26. I was told I was too old, too grown, and that I had a lot to fix. So we scrubbed my face, I lost some weight. We tried desperately to hide my age. And that's when I began to play for a trophy in the culture game. Now, if you want to star for the culture game, I am not your man. I waited till marriage to have sex, and alcohol is not my jam. And I've tried my best to look mysterious with a Diet Coke in my hand. But far too often I start conversations apologizing for who I am. What a shame when our eternal flame feels the need to dim itself down. We work so hard to fit in, we forget we were made to stand out. So shine your light and speak your truth even if your voice is shaking. Like Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, everybody else is taken. You think God would bring you here not to trust your intuition? What if the reason you always feel left out is because you're the thing that's missing? So here's to the courageous ones that don't fit in but are okay with the ones, the write new stories on blank pages ones, the lean into their uniqueness, trailblazing ones. And here's to the magic that only you can bring. And here's to the audacity it takes to spread your wings. And here's to the light bringers that know it's hard as hell but continue to show up unapologetically themselves. And then it goes into a song. But this is the idea,
bro.
Right? That is a battle that just because we're here, every man has got to do. And you know what's really funny is just like the layers of it. Okay, so you're doing the dishes and you don't want to do them. And below that is a lot of the crap you've been told. And then to Jamey's point, below what you've been told is a knowing that you just need to give some space to understand.
First, because you did it, you did this poem. And then you went into making a point. It's really, really damn good.
Oh, thank you.
It's so good. It's so, first of all, beautifully written, but also the message that you say in there. That's my brother right there. That right there. Whoever writes that and says that is a good man. Well, it's not true. There's a lot of
good moment.
Has a good moment. That's really, has the makings of being a good man, if you can apply all those things. All right.
But good, also good versus, we've talked about this.
Versus.
Who are you, a good man or are you a bad man? Good men do bad things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And we're
Took me a
all,
minute.
we're all, even women, I mean, not even women, obviously women. Like, I do bad things. So just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm good, right?
No.
Like, and so it's also leaving space for that nuance. I think that when you're committed to the idea that I'm a good guy, I'm good, then you can't hear me say, hey, that laundry thing was weird. Like, you should think about that. That's why there's that resistance. It's coming, I think, from a good place of I want to be good. But if you are, told that if you do a bad thing, then you're not good anymore. I mean, I think that's where that justification, that defensiveness, really comes. I just wanted to reiterate that.
I appreciate
but
that.
But I do think
I
it's
think you're
super helpful and in myself when you're thinking about what you want to be, to put good in front of man. It's not perfect, but really helpful.
Sure.
Just to like what comes up in my brain.
Yeah.
The image of man versus good man goes like, oh, I turn my head and think of someone completely different.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful.
I think that's great.
Yeah, we'll change our podcast to Good Man Enough.
Yeah.
So when you say, the preferred audience is like hot 18 to 25-year-old women, is that for... Who is that for?
It's not for me.
Right. It's not for you.
No.
It's not for women because they're just kind of...
Oh my God.
It's for other...
I'm not
is it for
excluding
other
you.
men?
Please come. And hot is such a weird, stupid
no,
thing to say anyway. I said it.
But I feel like that's a thing that gets you status with other men, isn't it?
Yes. And industry.
And industry.
And
The
who
industry
creates the
and-
industry.
And honestly, with other women as well, right? I mean, I think just in general, I have certainly raised in the music business, I know that if there are girls that, it's kind of like this thing I was just watching the other day. If a hot girl in school says that they like you, then she gives the other girls permission to like you as well because the hot girls did. Like, they validated you. So for a guy, when you see the hot girls in front of you on stage, and I'm not saying I ever thought this.
It's okay.
No. That's not what I meant to say. It's not that I didn't think about it. That's not what I was chasing after. But I know the value of that that when there's that also validates, not just with men that think, oh, he's got hot girls like him, but to other girls, because that's it. There's weight when you say, Liz, who's a beautiful woman, who's there, and you're like screaming for someone, it gives permission for other women like, oh, if Liz likes him, then I can like him.
You know what else is coming from me is the definition of, to me, it's an energy. So like when I say hot, it's not even like I'm thinking of a specific body type or a specific person. It's that people are coming with an energy to let you know that like, I want to, like there's sexual energy here, right? Like the front row is like, there's like.
That's why all the music videos all throughout the day, you have casting calls for hot girls.
Right.
To be in the stage,
But
to be on the stuff dancing around you because it.
You're like, I want the hot girls, like I want the hot girl to like me, not because I want her to like me because she's beautiful or has other qualities. It's so that other girls also like me. Like it's still about you. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understood.
And that's the part where there's this like TikTok trend going around of particularly young girls, but young women too, saying, do straight men even like women? Because you want to have sex with us. That is clear.
This is a real question. Do straight men even like women?
I truly, I've felt that in some of my relationships with men, where I feel like you want me, but do you like me? Like you love me, but do you like me? And by like, I mean, do you respect me? Do you listen to me? Do you believe me? And I don't often feel that way, unfortunately. I do with a lot of men in my life.
Of course.
But when it's painful is when it's almost like I'm a transaction or I'm a thing to have and not a person to get to know. And if I tell you something that disrupts your idea of who you are or disrupts your idea of who I am, where I'm just revealing things about myself that you might not expect. There's no, I don't want that part. I want this part, right? The sort of pixie dream girl that we see in so many movies where like her entire personality is just being liked by this guy. And so I see in our culture, which is how patriarchy can prevent men from getting to know women. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just infused in all of the culture. Like women's interests are demeaned by all of us.
Yeah, of course.
So even I have a tendency to do it. And so do we like women? Like, do you really like women?
I am so sorry that you feel that. I hate that. I hate that a woman would feel like, and I get it, because as a Black person, throughout my life, I have wondered, do people like me? Not just me, Jamey, but what I represent. But I do think this. I don't know how to put this in. I hope this comes out right. I think men do like women. I think men do in general. Even though men don't show it, even though we do things that contradict that statement, even though we can treat you terribly and not listen and interrupt. I think that has a lot to do with work we have to do. And it doesn't necessarily reflect that we don't appreciate or like or value women. I guess my bigger point is that when we say, because men get defensive when you say, well, you hate women. I'm like, no, I don't. But so now there's a disconnect.
Right.
Rather than, I don't think you hate women, but do you understand that some of these actions are hurting women? That it looks like you hate women? Now we might be able to have a conversation versus just a blanket statement that says you hate women.
To me, it would be more effective to instead of saying you hate women, say you don't seem to like women. I just think it's more accurate. Like I agree with you. I think most men don't hate women, but I think that the sexism and the patriarchy in all its forms kind of makes you look like you don't like women. And if you do, then show it, right? Like with your actions. I think it's an interesting way to talk about the patriarchy instead of hate. It's like, oh, you don't really like.
I just fear it's just not accurate. And while I understand it, I don't know if it's accurate.
What I like about it personally
is
that, this thing of saying I'm not sure that guys like women is it raises the stakes for people to hear it. It is a little bit buzzy.
But
I'm cool with it.
But that's not what I have a problem with.
No.
I don't have a problem with it. I love that. I love the idea that the question is there so that we can examine it.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that let's not just say it and let it land and that be the truth. keep saying it, so it causes us to have a conversation. But then let's find the truth.
And then not to undercut it, we were on tour, and my trumpet player, who's a woman, said it, and she meant it, and it like made me go like, whoa, do you believe that? And I know you, and I love you, and you're incredible. So I'm not gonna like dismiss what you're saying. I'm gonna go, oh my God, you have so many interactions and points of contact where when you're saying that to me right now, you're not joking and you're being dead serious that you're unsure whether men like women. And it was powerful to me. Like, holy crap. That's terrible.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
It's sad. It's very sad. And I think it hopefully encourages, again, men to show with their actions that they do like women.
Would you rather, you're flipping through Netflix, you want a female lead, male lead? Totally honest.
I never thought about them.
Never thought about it.
But it's subconscious. That's the thing.
I don't think about it, but my wife will be like, oh, you don't want to watch that because it's a female lead. I'm like, yo, first of all, back up. I like Hunger Games. And then we have a whole defensive situation. And then later I have to, like, when I'm driving alone, like, are there shows that I just watch with a female lead? And there are, but
Yes,
there's less.
That's interesting.
And
I
there's
think
less
then
of them available, too, by the way. Again, it's
Oh,
not
interesting.
just saying...
Most of the
Yeah,
shows I watch are with female leads, and most of the artists I listen to are female singers. So maybe that's why I haven't thought about it.
But
I'm-
overall, there's less, right? Like, I mean, again, I don't know remember all the statistics around music and film off the top of my head, but we know that, and there's been an effort lately and recently to have more female leads, have more women behind the camera and vice versa. But still, it's hard. There are less female lead roles. There's a lot of women who are supportive characters, but lead is different.
Men, we got to do a lot of work because our actions
Yes.
are telling women we don't
Yes.
care
Yeah.
about them.
And it's not how you feel. What a wonderful thing to, reflect and reimagine masculinity so that your intentions and your love for women align with your actions.
What would you say if I were to ask you, Liz, I'm really dedicated to being a better version of myself as it comes to my being a man.
Mm-hmm.
What in your research and in your work, or just as my friend, as a woman that walks through the world, what would you say, Jamey, work on these 3 things just this year? Or this is how I feel like you could be what I think would be a good representation of a man.
I think listening to women and believe, like Brene Brown has this quote that she talks about when it comes to allyship, or it was when it came to Black Lives Matter. What does it mean to be there for someone and to really be in solidarity is to listen. But not just listen, but believe. Trust women, believe women has been associated with a lot of political causes or abortion rights and sexual assault. And although, those are great, I think it's actually more fundamental than that. And actually, if we do that fundamental thing, then we wouldn't have to have campaigns telling men not to rape women, or we wouldn't have politicians who are, taking away bodily autonomy. And I feel like you've done that, by the way. And that's what you did in our episode 2. Like, you actually listened to what I said and believed it, even though what I said challenged your own idea of who you think that you are and what kind of man you think you are, right? What I said was like, you're actually not being good guys. And I'm sure that was painful. I saw that, it created even some defensiveness and like, wait a minute, I do other things. And, we have someone who works in our house. And eventually we got to a place, but I think Andy immediately was like, you're right. What am I doing? I think listening and believing. And then another thing that you've done and that you did very, very early on is making sure that other men are also listening and believing me, right? Like at the beginning, like Justin was interrupting me a lot. And you came over and you were like, hey, I know you're probably not noticing it, but you cut Liz off twice and like you just monitor that. And it like made a difference, not just in Justin's experience, but also my experience. So I think it's like listening, believing, and then action. Like actions aligning with words. That is, if you can do that, that's everything for me as a woman anyway. And that's what I, try and do in my own life. But
The action part is tough.
it's
My wife
hard.
left for 3 days, Liz, Andy, 3 days. Friday morning, she left to go on a women's retreat. She never goes anywhere. I go places all the time for my work. And there are some group of men,
Trips. Yeah.
Andy's one of them, that we go and like take a minute, a few days. My wife never goes. She says, I'm going away for 3 days with Emily, Justin's wife,
Fun.
to a retreat. And I'm like, ooh, whoa, okay, let's talk about that. But when I do it, there's never, it's like, okay, well, all right, great. She just keeps it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I've got work. I've got, how am I going to juggle? How am I going to, but she does this every day, all the time. It's never like, wait, Jamey.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay. She was gone after day one. I'm like, okay. Someone was like, you can't return my text. I was like, I haven't figured out how to be alone with the kids and text, and text at the same time. I mean, I'm kidding. I'm way exaggerating. But she's back today. So 3.5 days she's been gone. And I felt it. And then what I've thought is, am I showing up? Why do I feel it this much? Why do I feel the difference that she's gone? And I thought, oh, I wonder if my actions, I need to ask her when she gets back.
Mm.
Because I feel like it was a lift.
And you know what it is? Like there's this documentary called Fair Play that everyone should go see that talks about the division of labor, because that's the number one reason for divorce, by the way. It's like we can sit here, talk about emotional intelligence and go to therapy and spend all this money, but it's also like division of labor, again, action, right? Like if you respect me, you're going to respect my time and equally to your time. And she says that it's actually not even the physical part of the division of labor that's the biggest problem for women. It's the cognitive work of what she does in that moment, which you describe, which is like, he's not going to be there, figures it out. That's a lot of brain power, right? She's scheduling in her head, how am I going to do this? This is going to go here. This is going to go there. I won't go to this. And that cognitive work, actually, because again, we think of division of labor or just domestic work as the work that doing the dishes, doing the laundry, but it's that cognitive work, actually. That's why so many women burn out, and mothers suffer so much more in terms of pay inequality. How do you not just like do the physical work, but also just ask questions about how you can take on the cognitive work? Because it's a lot. Yeah, you didn't have time to text back people. You were like, oh my God, this is so much.
And then creating pressure in yourself and raising the stakes about how important it is. Because like you have these two people that the way the world is set up and what's expected broadly, there's not a lot of pressure on the guy to do these things. And then also, if you do those things, you have to deal with the other pressure that's making you're not like, we'll just say the Marlboro Man again.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pressure that we're not aware of as men, keeping you in your place. You are questioning yourself whether you're like, not a man when you're doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
So
what goes through your mind? Tell the truth.
When what?
When you're doing, didn't you say like when you're doing the dishes, you feel like you should have a thank you, right? Like you admitted to that.
Oh, and I don't feel that anymore.
But at one point, no, but that's okay. I think that's good.
Actually, that's not true. That's not true. That's a good question.
I don't even think it's at the place where it's like I'm thinking those things. It's been bred into me.
That's right.
That I don't want to do this.
Right.
And the ugliness is I shouldn't have to. That's the ugly true thing. Is like, is this really am I supposed to be
Not
doing
that you
this?
believe that in your heart. But
not in your heart, but
right.
if you've been trained over your whole life and everything you've seen in TV and everything that you've watched and everything, it's like, this isn't really where I'm supposed to be.
But what I also think? I think we use this stuff, not you, and I appreciate you saying this. I think we come up with a lot of excuses. I think men, we find ways to justify us not showing up. We know what's right. I believe that we know. And we often say, man, men are oftentimes told just like women are objects, so do this and say that. But then why do we say it like this when they're not around? Because you know you're not supposed to say that.
Totally.
Right? Why is it that you don't say publicly in a room like, yeah, I don't do the dishes, or I don't do this, or I need thank, because we know that I can't say that. Because if I say that out loud,
but there's a gap.
good. But there's a gap. I agree. But
so then what you know?
That's the gap. But I'm saying to get there, we know it. And I think then we find all the reasons to justify why we don't know it, and then we keep perpetuating.
But you know what that is too? That's masculinity, right? Not admitting you've made a mistake, not asking a question. And I think that applies to, again, division of labor, domestic chores. I think it applies to so many emotional, just arguments and conversations, right? I feel like so many breakups and so many divorces could be, I mean, even in my own life, when I look back, I'm like, if we trained men to take more responsibility and to not go into, because when you're justifying what you're doing is you're denying that thing that's uncomfortable, right? Justification is kind of a protective coping mechanism in a lot of ways. So I know that when I find myself, what I do, I justify, but I also intellectualize. So like I'll think about something over and over and over again, and I'm creating a story that makes my behavior, like
Sure.
let's say someone's upset about something I did, or there was a disagreement. I'm like, no, but I did this because of, and when I find myself doing that, I'm like, what are you avoiding? Like, what are you afraid of? It takes a lot of emotional, being able to be connected to yourself and have conversations with yourself. Like, I don't think men even listen to themselves. So of course they're not listening to women. Do you feel connected to yourself?
Do I? Yeah, I feel connected to myself. I think you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I think that a lot of times we don't understand how high the stakes are, how intense it is, how important it is.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
That was another thing about our conversation was you were quick with a lot of really intense stats about like, it was good, about how dire the situation is.
Right.
And how inequality of men and women seems like something that's like, sure. I would agree that that's happening, and I don't totally see it. And then when you bring it home and go like, "You're doing it, dude," and you can raise the stakes of like, if you want to say that you're a good man, then like you need to be aware of this and like show up for it. And right now, it's kind of been presented to a lot of men as either vague or they're doing what you're saying is they're not listening, not believing. That's for sure something that I've tried to get better at. Of like. Man, yeah, you really have to believe people when they tell you something,
And the consequences are dire for you too.
100%.
Right? It's like men are, again, like, women have all these mental health issues as a result of all of these stereotypes and these ideals and these pressures, and men too. Like this is hurting you as well. And that's why I'm asking, like, are you connected to you? Because when you're connected, you're like, oh, this hurts me.
Yeah.
Like I'm hurting, I might be hurting someone. Every time you hurt someone, you're actually, there's a part where you're hurting yourself.
Oh,
or you
geez. I
you
know
hurt
that
yourself.
well.
You're treating.
I know that well myself.
Yeah, you're treating others like.
We got to get this shit right. We got to get it right because we got babies that are being raised, and we got our kids, Andy. You're going to have kids one day because your eggs are frozen and can't wait for them to be fertilized and become little Lizzes. We have to save these babies in our generation, and it's not going to happen if we don't keep having conversations like this and unpack it and uncover it and be truthful and be different and show up.
Yeah, and show your boys female lead films and books and right like. That's how I've learned to know about men. I know a lot about men because a lot of stories are about men. And so if we show those stories to our boys, then we're, part of the solution.
Just like you got to show the new Ariel.
Yes.
What's it? The Little Mermaid to
little
your
boys.
kids, little white kids. They can see a brown Ariel.
Exactly.
All right.
Time
we
to
should
wrap.
wrap up because we could keep going, and we've got a lot more time with you.
Hey.
We're not doing just this one. We're going to talk to guests. We're going to have some more fun. One thing that gives you joy, quick.
My daughters.
Liz, one thing that gives you joy.
Donuts.
Yeah.
Donuts.
Let's get some donuts in here.
One thing that gives you joy that's not your family.
Words. Like really well put together words.
What about you?
Andy being here.
Hey.
That's a good one.
Sir.
I thought, let me just say something to Justin because I know Justin's going to listen to this. I thought I was going to be really excited that you weren't here, Jay. Can I look at the camera?
It's confessional.
And I wish you were here.
No, we miss Justin.
We miss Justin. Not because we're not doing fine. I miss your presence energy, brother. But if there was someone to fill that seat, I'm really glad it's you. I love you. You're amazing. Let's keep doing it. If you're interested in what we're doing, where can they find us, Liz?
manenough.com/podcast.
This is Man Enough. I'm Jamey Heath.
I'm Liz Plank.
I am Justin Baldoni.
Yes.
in the body of...
In the body of Andy Grammer.
Love it. We'll
You know what it feels like to me? I am like, I've had so many situations in my life where I am like the B version of Jason Mraz. Like there's like a duet that has to happen and Jason Mraz can't come, so then they get me.
Oh my God, you're ridiculous.
No,
we gotta talk
it's
about
the
that.
other
To go
way
sing
around.
Lucky with Colby Clay or do some other duet with somebody. So I am.
No.
Let's sign off.
I am Justin Baldoni.
All right, we'll see you next time. This is
Man Enough.